they're doing what I did. No way, that's just a wheel. Holy shit, that's just a wheel, there's no tire there. Bro, we're literally about to film my truck starting. Next thing you know, there's a freaking car riding around literally on a rim. I'm gonna try and go catch him, bro. Gotta blow some bubbles for, you got this truck, you got this. You gotta do this for 7.3s. Bro, we gotta catch them, bro. I'm like actually trying to get in a hurry to find them. Bro, how do we find someone that's literally riding on a freaking rim in our own hometown?
They saw the video.
They saw the video. Bro, they already lost the tire and everything. That's honestly one of the funniest things I think I've seen. What are the chances that literally we see a car with the same exact tire popped riding on a rim in the same exact town that I happened to make a video that got 1 million views on, a viral ass video. Thank y'all very much for watching. But literally, someone was doing the same exact thing in this town. Like, I wonder if they watched the video. We were trying to find them, but catch them, but it was, they got too far. They were probably on a move trying to get back to where they were trying to go.
Tire popped and they were like, all right,
Facts,
we know what to do.
I heard a sound, I was like, what is that sound? And I was like, that's so familiar. And I was like, wait. We turned the camera on and started recording instantly. That was hilarious. Welcome to Pablo. Alright guys, so we have the Power Stroke right here, which is a 7.3 2002 F350, and the AC on this thing is warm. So the first sign of me figuring out what's wrong with it, I saw this right here. This heating element right here is not even inside of there, and that's part of the air box. So that's just letting all my conditioned air come out. So that's definitely a problem. But if you look further into it, if you can see inside of there, see all that? That is on my evaporator. That's dirt and debris and all that stuff, and that probably came in via this hole right here. So we're gonna go ahead and figure out a way to get that back in, but we also need to clean that evaporator. So we need to take all this stuff off. It's gonna take a little bit of time. What we're gonna have to go ahead and start doing is take off both batteries, of course, on anything with this truck, because you don't want it to have any problems. Because those are more expensive than it's worth the effort for taking the battery out. So just take off the negatives and you'll be fine. You're gonna leave all this stuff connected because you don't have to disconnect it. I'm gonna disconnect this right here, that right there. I'm gonna take this off. There's a bolt on the bottom side of the fender liner for this vacuum line right here. Take out the bloater motor, take out this little mount right here that goes from here to there, and then take out all the bolts holding this in, and the condensers should kind of pop out. So we're gonna go ahead and start with that. So we have the blower motor out right here, which this honestly seems to be in good condition. I might replace it one day to get like a higher output, so maybe it blows a little harder, because this truck doesn't really blow that hard as far as AC goes compared to new vehicle standards, but back then it was pretty fine. Still does put out air. It's just not that cold, so that's why we're fixing this. And if you can see in there, look at all that dust and dirt and just debris and everything in there. That's why my AC's been smelling like dirt for the longest time. If you want to really know why, this right here is your evaporator. This unit right here, and if you can see, there's fins on this side and it looks pretty clean. On this side, it looks pretty clean. If you come over here, we will see the dirt. Just for reference of what I'm doing here, I'm gonna put the camera inside of this little blower motor spot, which blows the air right here. And that's just what I've been dealing with, is all that air and dirt and all that stuff just gunking up inside of here. Honestly, it turned into a freaking rat's nest of dirt and debris, and we need to basically clean it up so it has better airflow and it will evaporate better, basically making all the air cold. And my truck hopefully won't smell like daggum dirt anymore whenever I turn the AC on. That would be the nicest thing ever. These are work truck problems, 7.3 problems, and finally happy because we're gonna make the AC cold again. We're getting most of it out. Let me go ahead and put some light on the subject real quick. Alright guys, so if you can see that guy right there, it looks a lot cleaner than it used to look. Let me get the camera up inside of there. I'm gonna wipe everything down. There's still some water on the bottom side of that, but I'm gonna take all that out, clean all the dirt out of it, so hopefully it doesn't smell like dirt anymore. And that should be good. I might even put some Back to Black inside of this right here, because Back to Black smells really daggum good, and the plastic would smell like that, so I might just put some in there. Alright guys, so I have this cleaned out pretty good. Honestly, as much as I want to be able to get it right now. Oh, my phone flash turned off. It's pretty solid and it's pretty clean. The evaporator is back in its place. All we gotta do is put the cover back on, which is like 11 8mm screws, put that back in place, put the vacuum lines on, put the lines, connect everything, and then also we have to make sure that that guy right there, which is the heater element, can fit inside of this box, and we'll be set. All right, guys, so if you can see right here, I have everything bolted back up. Golly, that was a freaking process right there, son. There was so many bolts on that box right there, but we have everything back in, everything's clean, everything's bolted back up and plugged back in. So without further ado, it's time to turn on the truck, and Mello is gonna be the professional tester. Sweet. So you're gonna tell me if it's colder than it was before. It was blowing at a solid like 80 degrees when it was the coldest at nighttime. So like if we're colder than 80 degrees, we're good. All right, let's freaking do it. Yo, yo, yo! Oh my goodness! It's actually blowing A hard and B actually kind of cold, and the truck's not even warm enough for like to...
Oh, it's just getting colder on
Bro, what in the world? Road trips are gonna be tolerable now.
On the way to Jake's wedding, we were sitting there sweating bullets by the time we actually got there.
Facts, bro. He literally had to take off his shirt on his way to Jake's wedding. I just stayed in my shirt. I was sweaty. On our way to Alabama, we had no heat the whole entire time. No wipers. Now this truck has freaking wipers. It runs good. It's tuned. It has freaking forces on it. It's got cold AC. We need tint. It's got the nice tow mirrors. It's got nice lights. Oh my gosh, the AC is just getting colder and colder. Oh my gosh. I'm literally going from a truck that had no AC. Guys, keep in mind, my Mustangs, obviously the Mustangs are my fault because they're race cars. Like I literally designed the cars to be race cars. I don't want AC, that's all gonna get in the way. It's more weight. I don't need to daily drive those cars. And if I do, it's strictly for the fact that I wanna enjoy that car and I don't need to enjoy the AC. However, Scoot's AC didn't work. The previous owner for Scoot had ran it into something, so the condenser itself was just, it has a giant hole in it, so I never decided to fix it because I didn't want to get a condenser and recharge it and everything. So I went ahead, finally got the truck fixed. This thing hasn't had cold AC in literally since we've gotten it. The truck is literally out here, dog.
This is nice. Yeah, the whole trip to Alabama, remember we had to stop like every 50 miles to put the AC down.
Facts, bro. Well, I guess that does it for getting this daggum AC cold. It's actually getting really cold. I'm gonna have to turn it down because I'm covered in sweat. My shirt's literally soaked. I'm soaked. I threw up because I was working on this daggum truck in the heat so much. I was sweating. I'm telling you, I could wring my shirt out and fill up a 5-gallon bucket. Like, it was that bad. But got a daggone thing done. All right, so me and Sean are at a taco joint. We wanted to go ahead and get some breakfast tacos. So what do we get? Like all of the food?
Yeah, we got some bacon, egg, cheese, and potatoes, and some steak, egg, cheese, and potatoes.
We're gonna go to Longview, have a little trip, and I figured might as well ride with, so.
Got an eventful day.
Yes.
Hey, any day that starts off with breakfast tacos is a damn good day.
That really is true.
Really is a damn
if it
good
starts
day.
with breakfast tacos, that day's finna smack just like the breakfast tacos.
Hey.
The bag has been acquired. Look at that freaking taco. These things are about to smack so much.
Hey, I don't know what you're talking about to. This thing is smacking right now.
Honestly,
Smack attack.
it's time. It's time for the tacos.
All right, so we got back from Longview today. We're at Sean's pool. Keaton, Sean, and I. We're gonna jump off the roof and do some fun stuff. Honestly, we're just having a chill day, but we're also gonna get some footage while we're at it. Figure might as well bring y'all with us. So,
Still got my hat.
hat always stays on.
You gonna jump off the roof?
Oh, that's a whole wasp.
Holy shit.
I don't want to deal with all that.
Damn, I don't have any wasp spray.
Boys, I think I found our wasp remedy. We're gonna use some good old-fashioned brake parts cleaner. Dude, he just came back and smelled burnt wings. He was like,
You cremated his family.
I'm really not sorry. Dude, somebody's gonna get on here and roast me for roasting a wasp. I love animals too. Look at my dog.
thing as PETA for wasps.
Please don't try this at home, folks. Full disclaimer, this is not actually a great idea. I think you should land in the floaty.
I'm positive I'll pop it, but I'm down.
You think it'll pop? I don't think it'll pop.
I think I'll probably break through the mesh.
R.I.P. to my new floaty.
Keaton is my editor for y'all that don't know. He's climbing up on the roof. If he does a double flip, that means I have to do a double flip. Hopefully it ain't Flop City. Oh my gosh. So we're gonna go ahead and play some cup pong. As y'all know, the world famous game that is otherwise known as beer pong, but we're not playing with beer because YouTube. We're gonna play it in the pool though. So you want to buy a 7.3, or maybe you know someone that has a 7.3, or maybe you want to get a 7.3, or maybe you have a 7.3, or maybe you don't even care about 7.3s and you just want to hear me talk about this daggum truck. Either way, I'm gonna go ahead and show you all the ins and the outs of this truck, basically explaining kind of how to own a 7.3, because believe it or not, 7.3s are actually something that, like, if you have one, you actually have to know what the truck is in order to be able to work on it correctly. And if you don't have a $5,000 code reader, it's kind of hard. So I'm gonna help you out with that process and help you out through my months of struggling, and I can kind of help y'all with that because I don't have to struggle anymore because I already done fixed the problem, and I can help y'all with what I had going on. So first off, 7.3 headlights. Switch them to 6.0 headlights. They just look so much better. You got to cut out the inside of them, but that's fine. Everything down here looks pretty good. So this truck is obviously a two-wheel drive truck. It's a F350, but it's two-wheel drive, so it has the twin I-beam suspension down here, which is actually one of the best suspensions you can possibly get as far as like long travel and suspension handling and everything. It kind of handles like an old truck, but at the same time, it also handles great whenever you're going over bumps and stuff like that. It's super smooth, and it also stays straight in its lane pretty solid too. So first thing is you got to make sure you have your inner tie rods, outer tie rods, ball joints, and everything good as far as the front end goes. That's pretty simple. That's basically most truck stuff. That'll tighten up your steering. You also have a steering box, which is, there'll be a gear inside of there, which I'll show you about. Back here, you have your rear axle, you have your fuel tank and all that stuff right there. There's nothing too crazy. I'm going to get into the actual like engine part and drivetrain part of it for right now, but make sure your brakes are good, make sure your lights are good. All that stuff is easy on a Power Stroke. When it starts getting a little confusing and also it gets intimidating is when you start cracking into the engine. And actually, once you lift up the hood, if you don't know what you're looking at, you're literally going to get just a face full of confusion and parts and wires. So let's go ahead, pop that engine real quick, and we'll get into the inside of what makes these things great. So we have the 7.3 Power Stroke engine, and honestly, mine looks almost pretty stock. I guess we'll go ahead and start with the air box. Most people take a cold air intake and they put these on the trucks, which, yeah, it's fine. It probably does better, but at the same time, I'm keeping the stock factory air box because I don't want to put a smaller filter on there and get some small particulates inside, because some filters like K&N's don't filter it enough so that little sediment can still kind of get through the filter. So I'm going to use the stock one, not having any problems with it, never had a problem with it. It was designed for the truck. I might do a cold air intake, maybe that's designed for the truck, but I'm not just going to get a pipe and put an air filter right there because that just A, doesn't look good, and B, maybe it's worth getting a nicer one later on, but right now I'm not worried about it. Another thing is people do a mod, which is a crankcase ventilation mod down here, which connects to the bottom side of these pipes. See if I can't get it. Yeah, it's down there. You see that? People delete that. Don't do that. It's bad for your engine. What they do is they reroute it to atmosphere, and I don't know why, but for some reason, I just know that it's a bad problem on these trucks. So let's go ahead and get started on the truck itself. It's a 7.3 liter. It's pretty much ran by pumps. The whole thing is based off of pressure and sensors. And if you don't have enough pressure, or if your sensors are messing up, there's an 89% chance that your truck's not going to turn on. This is your high pressure oil pump, which is basically just an oil pump. It pumps oil throughout the whole entire system. There's oil on this bank above the cylinder. There's oil on that bank. There's oil on that bank on the top of the injectors. And oil is actually how these things are fed via oil pressure. Oil is how the injectors are actually fired. I have an aftermarket ICP valve on here, which it tells the engine how much pressure is in the rails, so it knows how to compensate for it for the H-pop. Basically getting the oil pressure right. It's like 2,000 pounds or something crazy big like that. There's a lot of pressure in there. So you also got your boost lines up top, and pretty much air goes in through the air intake, goes to the turbo, goes out, and believe it or not, this isn't a three-way. This is a 90-degree turn right here, and the pipe's just connected. It's just one piece, but there's a 90 right here, and there's a 90 that goes downwards. So it basically goes perpendicular, but it goes down into the plenum right there and feeds into both banks at these orange boots right here. You can kind of see right here and right there. But yeah, at those orange banks, those go down. The intercooler goes down in here. The intercooler is obviously up next to the radiator and the condenser, and then comes back up through here and goes into the plenum, which is actually super simple. There's a fuel bowl right here, which literally it's the bowl that all the fuel goes into before. You have a little purge valve on the back of the fuel bowl, which I'll hit it real quick, and diesel comes out after you purge it. Of course, that's kind of how that works. If you ever have your truck and it runs out of gas, go ahead and prime it right there and go ahead and let that fuel bowl open so that way you can get all the air out of the system. Super easy, super easy. We also have injectors. Got to make sure the O-rings are good on them. You have to make sure that they're actually all good in running condition. If you have all those, then you should be good. Make sure you're getting fuel pressure. One thing that's big on these trucks is inside of the tank, there is a pickup with a sending unit, and there's two filters inside of there. Those filters are known for getting clogged really bad, and they'll cause the fuel pump to cavitate, and basically they'll just cause your engine starvation of fuel because it's trying to get some, but it's not, because it's got a pump pulling it from the tank, but it's just not going to do it because there's filters in there that clog it up. That normally happens if you're going to buy a 7.3. They stopped making them in 04, I believe. 03 or 04, one of the two. I don't remember because it's 6.0. I don't know if they overlapped or not. But either way, the 7.3 is an old truck. So you're going to want to have to do all this stuff anyways because it's just kind of old. So as far as the engine goes, you're going to want to make sure you do your turbo pedestal mounts, which are basically O-rings on your turbo pedestal, what your turbo sits on. I put an exhaust on my truck. This right here is your wastegate pressure actuator. All your AC stuff is right here, like all your HVAC stuff. Here's a vacuum reservoir, another vacuum It looks like a vacuum distributor of some sort. Your blower motor for the AC sits right here. It's actually super easy to get to. It's just 3 bolts. The evaporator sits up under this box right here, and it's actually not too hard to get to. It's, I think, like 11 8mm bolts and these 10s right here, and just some other small stuff. But you can go ahead and pull the evaporator out, clean that out really good, because you're gonna need to do that. That's actually what I did earlier in this video. So you're kind of familiar with all that, but make sure she got fresh batteries, make sure she got a fresh alternator, make sure she got all the pulleys that she needs, make sure she has coolant, make sure you check the coolant whenever you get the truck, and make sure that there's no diesel inside of your coolant. Make sure it's nice, clean, and green. So whenever you're buying your Power Stroke, one thing that you can do to check for blow-by is take your oil cap off, and there will be smoke in there. That's how these work. These are turbo engines, and there will be smoke inside your crankcase because that's just how that works. But to check for blow-by, you literally take the oil cap, put it on the other side of it, and let it sit there. If it blows off, then it's got blow-by, and if it don't blow off and it just kind of sits there, it'll have a little bit of pressure in there. But if it just kind of like sits there and just does nothing, but if it blows off and it pushes it off whenever you turn the truck on and let it sit on there, then you know you got blow-by. That's one way to check for blow-by on bottom end tests, because it's kind of hard to do that whenever you're buying a truck, but it's really easy to take the oil fill cap off and literally just put it upside down and whenever the truck's on. So that's something that's super simple. I'm trying to think what else I've done to this thing as far as engine stuff. Your valve cover gasket harness. In fact, on these trucks right here, you have the valve covers, but they actually have a wiring harness inside of them, because you need to be able to deliver power to the injectors and the glow plugs, but they're under the valve covers, so you need to keep that in mind. There's that connector right there, and that connector is pretty much the connector for the valve cover, and all your injector stuff goes through there, all of the glow plug stuff goes through those, and there's one on either side. Make sure those are good, because those are also known to go bad. Glow plug relays are known to go bad, glow plugs are known to go bad. Most everything is actually pretty cheap. That's one of the reasons why I got this truck, is because the cost it takes to bulletproof a 6.0, it's a cost of a motor for a 7.3, and the cost it takes to do maintenance on a 6.7 is the cost of 3 7.3s, and a 6.4 is just, we don't get those anymore. We know those are bad now. So all that stuff's pretty simple. I don't think I'm forgetting anything big, but you make sure you have high pressure fuel, high pressure oil. If you have those things, then you should be good. The O-rings are good in condition, then your motor should run strong. Oh, your motor should run strong so long as it has good compression and it's getting fuel and everything. These motors are actually really simple. You just got to make sure everything's good. The sensors do go out every once in a while, which is kind of a pain, but it's pretty simple. You have your ICP, IPR, you have the glow plugs, the glow plug relay. You also have the injectors, the O-rings, the high pressure oil pump. You gotta make sure there's always oil in this truck. For some reason, some of them have problems with leaking just in random spots, like at the dipstick or something like that. There's an exhaust back pressure valve that I need to go ahead and clean. There's a few other things that you need to do on this truck, but everything's actually pretty simple on it. And I don't want you to be, there's a lot of people that are like, oh, you got your truck and it's like, eh. And they're kind of skeptical about getting one after they've seen all the problems I have with mine. But the thing is, honestly, these trucks are amazing. And they're really the same thing as anything. If I wanted to take a newer bed and put it on this thing, I could. If I wanted to take a newer cab and put it on this thing, I could. If I wanted to put a front end of a 6.7 on this thing, I literally could. It's all the same. It's Ford. They all use the same parts because it's cheap. That's why I don't like Ford and why I like Toyota. One saved my life, and it was the best truck I ever daggum owned. But now we got this thing, but this thing can tow a little bit better than a Tacoma can, so I'll give it that. And it's a stick shift, of course. It's a 5-speed. I need to probably re-gear it because it's sitting right at around like 2,300 RPMs at 70, which is no bueno because it's a lot of RPMs for going 70 and a 5-speed. If I had a 6th gear, it'd be perfectly fine, but I only have 5. The thing about this right here is this truck is manual. This transmission is freaking bulletproof. All you gotta do is change the clutch. That's the only issue you're ever gonna have to worry about if you get a manual one. I've heard through the grapevine that the automatics are not too bueno in these trucks, which is why when I seen this guy was a 6-speed, well, it's a 6-speed, it's a 5-speed with a low gear. So it's 4-speed with an overdrive, and there's a low gear. So technically that's called a 6-speed. That's pretty much how this truck works. It's actually pretty simple. And I guess if that gives you any insight on how to run a 7.3, on how to own a 7.3, there you go, because I really wanted to let y'all know. Now the real question is, can we get up that hill? I don't know. I mean, it definitely is taller than me. It's probably about like 15, 16 feet tall. Oh yeah, that thing's got that. We're having 2-wheel drive issues. So what's happening is my hitch was dragging right here. My tires were spinning right here. Problem is, this is too aggressive for my bumper. It's touching my bumper, so I can't really hit it too fast. But at the same time, I'm positive it can make it. It's pretty aggressive of an angle, but I'm gonna hit it right kind of over here. Oh boy, that was meaty. That's a freaking hill climb. If you could see the size of the truck, it's literally twice the length of the truck. I mean, it's obviously the camera effects going on here, but boy, she bogged up that daggum hill. I'm gonna try and get you a complete 90-degree. All right, so this is completely straight up and down. I'm 6 foot, and that's like way over my head. The truck's over there. Well guys, that concludes this video of the 7.3. Thank y'all very much for watching. Have a great one. I'm gonna freaking send it. Be great.